Hi everyone, it's Mick from shesbuildingarobot.com, and I'm here with Anastasia from Flurosat. Anastasia, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Mick, for having me.
And appreciate you sharing your story. Can you tell me what was your first ever experience with computers?
Um, my granddad had a computer. He was a civil engineer. He ran a civil engineering office. And he had a computer in the office. And so I went and saw that computer. But also they had drawing boards. So they had lots of people actually using the physical drawing boards when they would have rulers that move only a certain direction. And he showed me back then how to use the software called CorelDRAW on the computer. And that was 90s. And then he decided when I was really young, I think I was 7, to buy me one so that I could teach myself how to do Bezier curves in CorelDRAW, because I was fascinated by them.
Wow.
This is how I started learning about computers. And the other thing, which is really funny, just makes me recall this story, because now I live in Australia, that my first ever computer program was to take a kangaroo jump the stairs.
What? You were destined to come to Australia, clearly.
That's right.
And what country were you in when this happened?
Yes, I was born in Ukraine, and we
Okay.
had it in Ukrainian school when we
Wow.
were programming the kangaroo.
So your grandfather was that initial catalyst that got you into technology. That must have been a big investment to give a 7-year-old a computer. And did you like it straight away?
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting, and I think what I realized is that looking back at my younger self, I think I didn't have any barriers to it. I just had a box which did something cool, and I wanted to learn more about it. So there was no consideration, which I think shouldn't be, that my older brother wouldn't play with that tool. I was playing with this tool, like that was my toy, and I loved it more, and that's what it was.
Fantastic. And let's fast forward to now. Can you tell me about the company that you're running, and what I'd love to share a little bit of an insight of what it's like to run a technology company from someone who started back making kangaroos jump.
That's right. So between the kangaroos jump, there was a big air time for the kangaroo to land here.
A lot of work. That was a big jump.
Yeah. So I guess in the middle, I studied aeronautical engineering, and I guess not to withstand the fact that, for example, we had a mixed background in the family. So mom did electronics. She was also very interested in giving me opportunities to play with computers. But by the time that I was growing up, she was already doing admin work. So she was already in managerial roles. So she didn't do any hands-on. But I had exposure to kind of her understanding that, yes, granddad should buy you a computer, and you should be interested in pulling the motherboard apart and putting it back in and understanding how it works. And it's a totally you thing to do because your mom can do it, but also there's no reason why, like in assembly factories, even there are more women often, because they are more attentive to detail. So I realized that, oh yeah, it's a cool thing to do. It's a really, it's not a dirty and it's not a heavy job. So, girls like things that are clean and neat and light. So I like that. But I guess fast forward to now, through aeronautical engineering degrees, so I did aerospace, I discovered that there was more opportunity in technology to actually not just help us take off this planet, but also us to stay on this planet. And this is how I started Flurosat, which is an agricultural technology company. We effectively take, it's a big data crunching engine that understands agriculture, can take in the satellite imagery, airplane imagery, drone imagery, taken with infrared cameras. It understands the crop growth, look at those images, and can say, I see a mismatch. I think this mismatch is because the soil quality is compromised or because the weather pattern hasn't been so favorable, and find those reasons, which then can be delivered as insights to agronomists and farmers, people who are managing the land, so that they can act on them. And that makes farming more efficient from time and cost of the resource perspective.
And agriculture efficiency is one of the most critical ways we can start looking after the environment, right?
That's right. It's one of the most important things that we haven't been done and closed the loop on yet.
Yep.
And I think this is we have all the technology now, which is connecting the farm. You know, we have autonomous tractors, which have the same devices as your phones. They just drive tractors, and the Internet of Things. So the sensors out in the field, all of this is feeding data. So by the time that the girls who read your book grow up, there'll be a data economy that will completely be driven by the amount of data, its flow, and its value it's creating. So I think when I was drawing the Bezier curves and making the kangaroo jump, I was trying to just learn how to operate the machine. But now actually we have this machine completely abstracted in clouds. And we need to operate data, and we need to be data savvy. We need to understand how to run an algorithm, something that understands a lot of information and spits out the result. And I think that's kind of the next step, the efficiency. This is where the key for the agricultural efficiency to make the environment sustainable lies in.
Wow. And your role now, you're the CEO of the company and the founder. Can you tell us a bit about the difference between working with ones and zeros with building technology? And I'm guessing in your role, you actually need to do a lot around leading and working with people. Can you talk about the interaction and the, I guess, the benefits and challenges of both?
Absolutely. That's, I think, the most rewarding part of my role, that I actually get to do multiple different things in many dimensions, depending on where we're at, how we're feeling, what are we doing. If we're developing a new model, if we're developing new technology, I can get more involved with the science team or with the platform team. This morning I spent with the data science team. They're looking at how bringing together different data sources into our core to make it enrich itself. But at the same time, I guess I'm facilitating that interaction. And I'm very passionate about unlocking people's own potential and giving them the opportunity to be their best selves in the environment in which their idea is going to win, because it's a better idea, it propels the business forward. So I think there are two layers to it. And when when we think of the senior leadership, it's often so that the senior leadership actually has to have technical background or some understanding of how programming is done, how the products are built, how is the app on the phone built, what turns off and turns on the smart TV, how does Bluetooth work. Every piece of that puzzle makes up this big system that helps all of the, for example, items in our value chain interact. And this is where, as a CEO, sometimes I might be finding myself talking and participating in a discussion on the technical level, where certain things need to be resolved or a strategic decision needs to be made. But all the time, whether you're or not, you are managing and enabling people. And that's what I guess every job is about, working with people and making them more effective in collaboration.
Yeah, that's interesting. The combination of technology and people, I think, is one of the best and hardest parts of working in technology. And really briefly to finish, if there's some teenage girls out there who are sort of curious about technology, do you have any thoughts other than making kangaroos jump? What's a way they might be able to? Any tips or thoughts about a career or getting started?
Yeah, actually, when we met with you, Mick, I was finishing my PhD, and in my PhD, we were taking the programming courses that allowed high school students to program robots that NASA has put on the International Space Station in first a little simulator on their laptop in the browser, and in very simple terms. So I could basically, I was doing that maybe a couple of years ago, right? I was helping high school students, year 10 and year 11, to participate in this program called Zero Robotics, to understand how not to make kangaroos jump, but how to make robots float in space.
In space, that's incredible.
Pretty much the same. So I think there's so many opportunities that, for example, as a high schooler, you can be involved in the robotics class in the nearby university. You can intern at a company that somebody might be introducing them to. What is the data analysis looking like there, or the programming that they're doing. And I think those opportunities are out there. And especially from my own background, I can say that there's a lot that can be done with online courses. So I taught myself a lot of many languages or specific data science skills from online courses. and they're there. They're often approachable, accessible to different levels. And I think that's kind of the very first step. And if you think of it, you can teach yourself for half a year how to play with the simulator on your little laptop, and then you can come, as Australian team did, the third on the international competition on the International Space Station. I think it's worth a try.
That would be awesome.
And it's a very straightforward pathway to something that's completely inexpensive, available to you. You can start doing it now, here and now and then, and then get to some good results over time.
Fantastic. Anastasia, you can find out more about Flurosat, everybody, at flurosat.com. I'll include a link in the notes here. But thank you so much for sharing your story and some tips. I'll let you get back to saving the world through agriculture and using all of your immense knowledge. So thank you so much for sharing, and we'll post this up on shesbuildingarobot.com very soon. Thanks, Anastasia.
Thank you, Mick, for having me, and all the best to your readers in the world of technology.